Hey everybody, welcome back to JT Channel, and yes, it is time to count down my favorite wrestlers of the year. And unlike other channels that are doing like top 10s or top 25s, because 2025, I'm doing a top 20. I'm doing somewhere in the middle. For those of you who don't know, I'm doing this video, and then next week, hopefully I'll be getting out the videos for my top matches of the year, which will be 15, and my top shows of the year, which will be 10. So we'll get to all those hopefully. First things first, this video is coming out on Christmas Day, so Merry Christmas to all those who are celebrating Christmas. Hope you all are having a great week, weekend, whatever. My hair is a mess. I just now recognized it. It's fine. That just happened on the video, so that's fun. Oh, sorry about that. I just dropped the controller and made the video go crazy. But obviously, we're going to start things off here. What I'm going to try to do is I'm going to leave whoever I'm talking about on the screen and then tell you who the next number is, so you can't just look at the screen and skip to the next one, even though you can do that if you want. But anyway, Kevin Owens is behind me, and the reason Kevin Owens is the first person I'm talking about is because he's actually not on my list. And I know you're all thinking, well, then why would you talk about him? Because he's the only honorable mention I came up with. There are plenty of others, trust me. If you go, I'm going to go through this list, and I can already tell you there's a few wrestlers that I ended up not putting on here, which is funny because that's one of the reasons I extended it to 20, is I wanted to have more room for wrestlers that I think deserve to be on the list. But the thing about Kevin Owens is he was injured. He had a really bad neck injury where he went and had surgery, and I think it was successful. Well, it was successful. But, of course, now we don't know if he's ever going to wrestle again. And that was before WrestleMania, meaning that he has been out for 3/4 of the year almost. And it sucks because he had such a good start to the year, and we were headed to this awesome match with Randy Orton, and it just sucks. It sucks a lot. Every day that Kevin Owens is not on my television, I get a little sad. It's a lot like when Big E broke his neck and had to retire, period. There were rumors that he could come back if he wanted to, and honestly, if that's true, I just don't think he wants to. And that's fine. That's on him. He had a great career, and he can do whatever he wants. Health is more important than pro wrestling, always. Happiness as well. But I felt like I need to start this list off with my honorable mention, with Kevin Owens. He is easily one of the best wrestlers of all time. He's one of the best wrestlers today. You can go all the way back to this year. I think it was this year when him and Sami Zayn had that unsanctioned match, and he's still just killing it. And I think this was also when he was feuding with Cody Rhodes. That was that like Saturday Night's Main Event when he did the package pile driver and he was trying to kill people. It was great. It was awesome. I love Kevin Owens. I really hope, of course, the nerd part of me really hopes, the fan part of me really hopes that he can wrestle again. Maybe he'll come back as a surprise in the Rumble, or I just want him back. Wrestling is definitely worse off without Kevin Owens. But again, his health, his happiness, his life, his family, all of that's more important than pro wrestling. So if he can't wrestle anymore, he better go in the damn Hall of Fame. So kicking things off here, like I said, I'll mention Kevin Owens. Now, we get into the top 20 wrestlers. Now that we've got past the honorable mention, I need to remind you that this is my video. These are my top 20 wrestlers of the year. They're not your top 20 wrestlers of the year. They're not Sam Miller's top 20 wrestlers of the year. They're not Dave Meltzer's top 20 wrestlers of the year. If you disagree with me, that's fine, but there's no reason to get angry. People get so upset when it comes to pro wrestling. So just remember, my opinions, I will explain them. Let's chill. Because in at number 20 is Rey Fenix. That's right. The first person on this list at number 20 is Rey Fenix. And I felt like he needed to be in this list somewhere. And it's one of the main reasons I put this list together is because he has had such a fun year since he joined WWE. This video is from his debut, which they say was 8 months ago. So you look back and everything he's been in has just been incredible. That team with Andrade, we could talk about Andrade in another video, was really good. He's one of the best. And him and Penta, who we will talk about later, spoiler, they're just too good. And the only reason he's at the bottom, quote unquote, of this list, as I realize my phone's a little crooked, I hope that's better, is because there's, 19 others for one that I put above him, but also because this was his first year in WWE. I've been a fan of the Lucha Bros since their time in AEW, and again, we'll talk about Penta, his brother, later, but seeing him kind of just be on his own little tear on SmackDown when he was a single star for a while, it was incredible. And then he did that team, that was incredible as well. He just did that match with Rey Mysterio at a AAA show, and it was just ridiculous. Rey Fenix, he's one of those wrestlers that don't make any sense. How are human beings able to do the things that Rey Fenix is able to do? I'll never understand it. I trained to be a wrestler, but I can never do Lucha Libre, and I can never do the things Rey Fenix does. I think his 2026 will be even better. I know Penta is currently injured, but I really, 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 really hope that we get the Lucha Bros back next year. And then when we have this conversation in 12 months, I'll be able to say, hey, here's the Lucha Brothers. So there's that. Number 20, Rey Fenix. And number 19 is gonna split opinion because he's not my. Some people are going to argue that he should be in my top 10. Other people are going to argue he shouldn't be in anyone's lists. But at number 19, it's Jey Uso. As I launch my control on the floor again. But that's right. I have put Jey in here. He is at number 19. I know, again, it's controversial because a lot of people think that while last year he was great and probably would have been in my top 10, a lot of people's top 10s, he just didn't have as good of a year this year, even though he did win the world title and the Royal Rumble. That doesn't necessarily mean he had a great year. He had some good matches. I think all the stuff with Gunther was great, although I do kind of feel like the Monday Night Raw match where Jey lost the title back was a little lackluster, I guess is the word. But nonetheless, I do think that he still belongs in the top 20. He is still super over with the fans. They do the double entrance thing where he runs it back. People get mad at it, sure, fine, whatever. But it works, right? Like, the only people that are mad at it are on the internet. And if you're in the audience going, this sucks, nobody can hear you because everyone else is doing this and screaming their heads off. So I do think eventually it'll get stale, which is why I think we're probably headed to a major angle with him and Jimmy. I don't know if he'll fully turn heel. That might be hard to do with how popular he is. But I do think he belongs in this list, like I've been saying. Hopefully 2026 he'll do a little more. It just didn't feel like he had a perfect year. Obviously, better than the last person, and I'm not gonna sit here and do that for every single entry. But he had a good year, but I do not think he was one of the top 10 or anything wrestlers of the year. And I've watched a few videos before this, and that seems to be the consensus overall. Is he's in a lot of people's honorable mentions, but he's not in their top 10s or whatever. Him winning the World Championship at WrestleMania will be remembered for a long time. I do think him winning the Rumble overshadowed it just because the last person he eliminated was John Cena. So I think that when you really put the, I don't know the word, I was going to say put the numbers out there. That's not, what does that even mean? The point is, he had a good year, just not as good as normal. So Jey Uso comes in at number 19. And it looks like it's a family affair because at number 18 is our tribal chief, Roman Reigns. And again, this is another one that might be a little controversial as to why is he number 18? Why isn't he in your top 10 or whatever? A big problem with Roman Reigns in 2025 is that he kept coming back, having 2 or 3 bangers, and then disappearing. And while obviously the triple threat match at WrestleMania was incredible, I'm pretty sure it's in my top matches of the year. It doesn't mean that just because he was in that match doesn't mean he automatically gets in the top of the year. All the matches he was in were great, including when he lost to Bronson Reed, War Games. Again, the triple threat match I just mentioned. Everything he did this year was fantastic. But he had about 62 big returns this year. And who does that sound like in AEW? Copeland. And every time, more and more people would complain. That's all Roman Reigns does is make return after return after return. I don't mind it. He's been one of my favorite wrestlers for 15 years or something. Maybe that's an exaggeration, but I have liked him for a damn long time. I guess 11 or 12 years makes more sense. But I just don't think 2025 was one of his best years. He had to be in my list, but the reason he's at number 18 is because everybody else on this list, and the person ahead of him is automatically going to make people melt down into a million different pieces, but we'll get there in a second. But he is on my list. He will always be on my top lists. I just think that this part-time schedule thing kind of comes as a hindrance to a certain extent. Because you can't, people that love Roman Reigns, people that love our tribal chief, ones to the sky, don't see him enough. And again, he kept returning and returning and returning. He would come in, beat somebody up, have a really good match, and then disappear for 2 or 3 months. This is from when he saved Jey Uso for War Games. He was at War Games, and I don't know if we saw him again. Unless after that was when he, no, because War Games just happened. So that's what I mean. He just It's fine. He'll always be good when he's in the ring, but I do think this is where he needs to sit at number 18. And if you want some controversy, that's why you came to this channel, is for controversy, right? I always do things. I always like to have fun, change things up. I don't want it to be like every other wrestling channel. That is why, ahead of Roman Reigns, at number 17, is Kenny by God Omega. Oh. And yeah, I picked a weird background for this one, but every time I pause to put a background up, it takes forever. So I just picked the first one I could find. But that's right. I have put Kenny Omega on this list at number 17, which, again, is going to drive the internet crazy, or people that watch these crazy, because how is Kenny Omega not in your top 10 and ahead of Roman Reigns or whatever? Grifters are grifters. They are what they are. But Kenny Omega is another one who had an incredible year, but he was gone for some of it. Remember, there was a point in the year where Kenny Omega, Will Ospreay, Swerve Strickland, all injured. Will Ospreay is still injured, but that's beside the point. I also feel like a lot of stuff that happened with Kenny Omega, and again, I apologize for this. I don't know why I'm apologizing. It's just how I feel. Went nowhere. I felt like Kenny Omega had a lot of good feuds and stories that just kind of, it always, I wouldn't say that it felt directionless, because obviously we knew where every story was going. But for me, it felt like this wasn't one of his best years. I feel like Kenny Omega always has good years. Even the year he was gone for a long time because of whatever the hell that was he had. I'm so sorry, I forgot what it was. But he had some of his intestines removed, came back, I'm pretty sure like the same year, and had a bunch of banger matches. So this is just another testament to how good he is. He's another one. A lot of the people in these bottom 10, I guess, if you want to call it, I think are going to have really good 2026s. The Young Bucks and Kenny Omega have just reunited. The Elite's back together. I think we're going to get some crazy good matches out of that, which we always do. This picture behind me has Okada in it as well. So we're probably going to, I don't know if we'll get that singles match again. I don't know how often you really want to do it. You had the trilogy or the quadrilogy in New Japan, and then you had the 5th match on AEW from earlier this year, which was really good. It ended up in my matches of the year. All 3 of my lists are on this notebook. But I just think that last year was better than this year, and I do think that this year wasn't great or brilliant or anything, but he's Kenny Omega. All of his matches are going to be great. Everything he does is going to mean something. So I'm looking forward to what he does in 2026. And while we're on the subject, I honestly didn't even realize I did this, but number 16 is the man right there, Kazuchika Okada. I just personally believe that overall Okada's 2025 was better than Omega's, and of course everyone I talked about before. But again, I do feel like he's had better years, and that isn't really a complaint on him. I think it's the character he's presenting right now. He's still one of the best wrestlers in the world. He is always going to be in the argument, the conversation for one of the best wrestlers of all time, and this year was proof of that. This was from his match routine with Takeshita, which is where I think the Continental Classic is going personally. But Okada he always has good matches, always has good years. This ranking isn't like, well, I think Okada is a million times better than this person. It's just how I personally felt. Really, this ranking is like this. They're right on each other. Each wrestler that's the next one up kind of edged out the one before him, or the one after him, I mean. So while I loved Omega and everyone else I've talked about, Okada, I do think had a really good year. Putting him at 16, I feel like that's fair because, again, personally, I think other wrestlers had better years. I think that a lot of his stuff never ages. So we'll go back and rewatch matches from 2025 next year and the year after and the year after, and it'll all be good. His match with Omega this year, again, it did end up in my top 15 matches. Bit of a spoiler for you there. I'm not going to tell you where, obviously, but it was still good. Of course, it was never going to be as good as what they did in 2017 and 2018. That's just how aging works. The older you get, sometimes the harder things are to do. I don't know. Again, I don't know if we'll get a rematch between them next year, but they are involved in a feud with the Don Callis family and the Elite, like they're in the same feud. So it is what it is. We'll see what 2026 holds. Either we're going to get Takeshita and Okada at World's End, or we're not. I don't know how long they want to put that match off, but we'll see. But Okada, I feel like, is very, very comfortable, for me anyway, at number 16. At number 15, someone who I think, I don't know. I'm looking at this list, and there are some changes I might have made, but I'm sticking with it. But number 15 is Sami Zayn. Here's another guy who I just think, I'm sorry about the background. I can't always get a good one, but there he is winning the United States Championship a couple of months ago. That title's gone all over the place since then, but that's a good thing. That's a good thing, good for the U.S. title. But Sami Zayn has had such an incredible year. His feud with the MFTs, which are basically the new bloodline, the stuff with Kevin Owens at the beginning of the year, this, when he won the U.S. title Open Challenge, which eventually ended with Ilya Dragunov. He's just had a fantastic year. And I feel like 15 would be, again, I feel like it's a good number. I feel like Sami is headed for a really good 2026. At least I hope so. Actually, come to think of it, he hasn't done a whole lot since he lost the U.S. title, but that doesn't mean he can't do more. The match with John Cena was really good until the ending, which we won't talk about here. Just in case you're wondering, no, Brock Lesnar is nowhere near this fucking list. But the match with John Cena was really good. All the matches he did with the U.S. Open Challenge were good. Obviously, the Ilya Dragunov one is probably my favorite. I love Ilya Dragunov. Was so happy that he returned and was on SmackDown. I think that was brilliant. And I think Ilya is going to do good next year as well. He's not on my list because he was also gone a lot. I don't really remember him doing too much this year. But he came back, became a United States champion. So hopefully a different conversation in 2026. But Sami Zayn was one of my favorite wrestlers of the year at number 15. Here's hoping he does really good in 2026. He's one of those guys that I always want to do good. No matter if he's good guy, bad guy, champion, not champion, in a tag team, whatever. Always rooting for Sami Zayn. And at number 14, here comes another controversial one. Because while he had a good year, I don't think he had as good of a year as he's had before. It's Cody Rhodes. Another one who have to bear with me when it comes with the background. God damn it. Okay, there we go. But yes, number 14 is Cody Rhodes. Again, I do feel like he had a very good year. However, I also believe that 2024 was much better, and I think everyone agrees with that. And I think that, especially towards the end of the year, things started to get wonky. Is wonky a good word to use in these videos? He's still feuding with Drew McIntyre, who he has beaten, I think, 3 times. I believe that's correct. He just keeps beating Drew McIntyre. He's beating Drew McIntyre. And it does nothing for Drew McIntyre, who I don't see on my list, which means that something's gone terribly wrong. Why is Drew McIntyre not one of my favorite wrestlers of the year? He's always one of my favorites. But Cody did have a really good year. I loved his feud with John Cena. I know people didn't like the heel turn. People thought the match at WrestleMania was bad. I don't think the match at WrestleMania was bad. I think Travis Scott was bad. I think Travis Scott taking 16 years and an extra 23 to get to the damn ring was bad. I think that the ending taking so long was bad. But other than that, the match itself was exactly what John Cena said it was going to be. This is not the place to talk about the match, but you get my point. Everything else Cody did this year was pretty good. The match with Randy Orton only bummed me out because it was the whole crown jewel, let's call it nonsense. But then the match at SummerSlam, and pretty much since August, I think Cody has really stepped up his game. If that makes any sense. But it does to me. To me, I feel like since SummerSlam, Cody has been better, which is why he's a little lower on this list than even I would like him to be. But this is how I feel. I do think that we need to get through the Drew McIntyre stuff. I think they're doing the title match on a random SmackDown that's going to be in Berlin or something. So I don't... You got to give Drew the belt there, or you might as well just never give Drew a title shot again. But again, another conversation for another day. Cody Rhodes in at number 14, the WWE Champion. I don't know what he does at WrestleMania. I have my opinions about that, but that's for the Rumble and Mania and those picks and predictions. But there we go. And actually, this kind of ties in because Cody Rhodes, of course, was a founding father of AEW. And coming in at number 13 is a man who will always be on my lists, and that is Darby Allin. If you know anything about me, you know that I freaking love Darby Allin. He is just, I don't even know how to explain it. I don't think he knows what professional wrestling is. I think he just goes in the ring and goes, I'm supposed to beat people up and I'm supposed to get beat up, right? So not only does he throw himself around like he's some sort of a bomb, not only does he get absolutely wrecked by weapons or whatever, he also brings weapons with him. He's just the best. And he doesn't always need weapons either. In matches without weapons, in like regular matches, he is still absolutely nuts, which is why he's, of course, at number 13. What other number could I put Darby Allin at? he had a fun year for sure. This is from the match with Jon Moxley, the I Quit match, where he tried to drown Darby Allin. We'll talk about that when we talk about it. But that's what I mean. Darby does all this crazy stuff. I don't know if you can call Sting his dad anymore. I think it's Grandpa Sting now because he has the old man stuff. Although, random, but I don't know if you've all heard, but Sting's not doing the face paint starting in 2026. So that's interesting. I think he's still going to do like meet and greets and stuff, but I think he's done painting his face as of like a recent meet and greet or whatever. But that's interesting. He's got something to say. But Darby Allin always has good years. He's had some incredible matches along the way, I think. The Jon Moxley one is just the one that always pops in my head. His feud with the Death Riders has been really good. Everything with Jon Moxley. He's one of the reasons that Jon Moxley is on a downward spiral now, which I really enjoy. Jon Moxley went from this like big star leader of the Death Riders, I'm going to kick everybody's ass, to now he's terrified of all submissions because he can't ever get out of them. Then he always has to tap or say, I quit, in this case. So Darby Allin's another one. I actually was convinced that Darby Allin was going to be the guy to take the title off of Moxley this year. That did not happen. We will talk about that not only in this video, but in another video in the future before the end of the year. But Darby will be world champion one day. I just don't know when, because I was convinced it was going to be like at Revolution or something this year. Revolution's the pay-per-view in like February or March, so obviously I got that wrong. So we'll see what he does in 2026. I hope that he has a good feud or whatever, because again, I don't think he's doing too much right this second. So hopefully he does more in 2026. Number 13 is Darby Allin. This one changed a couple of times. Number 12 I'm getting to, because I did some moving around with this list before I started recording. Number 12 is Will Ospreay. Here's the thing about Will Ospreay, and he was in my top 10, but as I started to do some shuffling around, when I realized there were some things on my list I didn't agree with right away, or well, not right away, but in the future, it's the fact that Will Ospreay is one of the people I mentioned earlier who is currently injured. And I know an injury shouldn't push someone further down the list. However, I felt like him missing the last couple of months has helped some of these other names push more up the list, because he wasn't around to do whatever Will Ospreay was going to do. And what Will Ospreay does really well is wrestle. So everything that Will Ospreay did this year was great. He's always in a good position. His feud with the Death Riders, his feud with the Don Callis family. Was the Don Callis family feud this year? I feel like it was. I feel like both feuds happened this year. He's always having good matches. I can't pull anything immediately out of the top of my head. Well, I can, but I'm not going to, because I have a couple of matches here on my best ever list. But you know, he also had the feud with the Young Bucks. Him and, who was it? It was Swerve, right? It was Swerve Strickland. Him and Swerve Strickland were like allies of convenience, to use what Alexa Bliss and Charlotte Flair did this year. But they were barely friends, and they were friends, and they were partners, and they did that match with the Young Bucks, which was one of the best tag team matches I've ever seen. And he's just always front and center, right? Because you can't put him anywhere else, because he's Will Ospreay. He's the guy that took over for Kenny Omega when Kenny Omega left New Japan, or whatever it was. So they had an incredible feud, a year or two ago? So Will Ospreay, when he comes back from injury, I'm sure he'll be put into a major storyline right away, whether it's with the Don Callis family, the World Championship. He'll probably come out and save somebody, or come out to challenge somebody. But he's another, like I said, a lot of these people I think are going to have better 2026s than they had 2025s. Ospreay had a really good 2025. I just think that the injury did hinder him. Well, obviously it hindered him. He was injured. But it hindered my list a little bit, because I had him somewhere in the top 10. I can tell you where. And then he had to be moved but just a little below it, just because I didn't really know what was going to happen next. So 2026, I bet he'll be in the list, and maybe he'll even be in the top 10. You know, I keep talking about controversy and how some people are going to get mad at me for some of these. Do you know who I have at number 11, who I think had a good year regardless of what everyone else thinks, who I put above all these other names I've said so far? John Cena. That's right. Not only did I put John Cena above people like Will Ospreay, Kenny Omega, Okada, Roman Reigns, etc., I also didn't even put him in the top 10. So come at me. I'm here. I can take it. John Cena, I really liked his heel run. That's going to cause more controversy than anything else. I thought that his promos were hilarious. They were cheesy. They were clearly written by AI or something, but they were really fun. Some of them didn't make any sense. Him saying that the fans turned on him and made him do that. By the time he turned heel, everyone loved him again. So that part didn't really make any sense. But the rest of it I thought was fun. He made that one kid so sad and then made up with him when he turned face. I don't think the heel run itself was bad. I think people are misremembering certain moments and basing their opinion on that. I know, because I've interacted with people like this, there are people who think John Cena's entire heel run was ruined by what happened at WrestleMania. I just don't think that's true. I think every match was good. I think every promo had its merits. And again, they were really funny. At worst, you could at least laugh at them and go, what a dumb thing John Cena just said. And then the face run, Jesus Christ in heaven almighty, which is an assumption. I've never been there. It fucking ruled. I'm sorry. Like, my literal infant is in my lap now, but it fucking ruled. That's the only thing I can say about it. The match with Cody, incredible. The match with Logan Paul might have been, I'd have to go back and rewatch it. The match with Logan Paul might have been the absolute best match of John Cena's retirement tour. The stuff with, I can't even think now, all the 6-man tag team match, where with Sheamus and Rey Mysterio. Sheamus, Rey Mysterio, and John Cena got to team up on John Cena's last Raw ever. It was so cool. And the match with Gunther, I've gone back to it. I've revisited it. I've revisited my thoughts about it. It was amazing. He made Gunther look like $1 million, even though Gunther already looked like $900,000. I don't know what that means. I'm ranting now, but John Cena absolutely belongs on this list. I know with all my ranting and raving, you're like, he should be higher. I will get into my top 10 when we get into my top 10, but John Cena gets a bad rap for this year. While the heel run wasn't perfect, it was really good. The babyface run, when he just came out on SmackDown and went, I'm a good guy now, was great from then on out, which is why, it's one of the reasons he's not in the top 10s, because the heel run, while I enjoyed it, I understand the problems with it, but I still enjoyed this year with John Cena. Obviously, he's one of the guys that will not have a better 2026 because he is retired. I do think he's pulling a Dave Bautista. I don't think he's going to come back for any reason whatsoever. There's a bunch of jackasses online that are like, wait till that Saudi money comes in. People said that about Batista too. Have you seen Batista? No, because he actually retired. I think John Cena is going to do the same thing. I think AJ Styles is going to do the same thing. Apparently there's rumors that Brock Lesnar may retire next year. I think all these guys are of a certain mindset where when they're done, they're done. They want to go home. They might pull a Sting. John Cena could come out and AA somebody and do this and then leave, but he won't ever do full wrestling again, and that's okay with me. He'll do appearances for sure. Number 11 is John Cena. Never seen 17 and is now retired from pro wrestling. So, how do we kick off the top 10 list? Who do I think had a better year than John Cena? Another guy named John that a lot of people have opinions about, and that is Jon Moxley. That's right, you heard that. Mox is on my list at number 10. Here's a secret for you. I've been a giant Jon Moxley fan since he first arrived in AEW. Does he have his issues? Of course he does. Are some of the storylines stupid? Yes. Why are the lighting doing that? And has the Death Rider story kind of been silly? Sure. Silly is a weird word for it, but we'll go with it. Okay, in case I suddenly seem very bright, there was something going on with the lighting in my video, so I went ahead and turned on the overhead light in our living room, so there'll be a little bit of a glare on the TV now, but you don't have to care about that. Anyway, but yes, I think that while I can't disagree with the arguments, I do think he has had an amazing year. Why? Because this Death Rider storyline is starting to go somewhere else now. And I actually think in 2026, they're going to kick him out of the Death Riders if they don't do that at World's End or something. But I think that we're headed towards a new direction with Jon Moxley, which is sorely needed, but especially the latter half of the year, the whole I can't handle submissions whatsoever thing he's doing right now. If I walked up to Jon Moxley and put him in like a wrist lock, he'd freak the fuck out. And I love that about him right now. It is a fantastic like change of pace for his gimmick. And I know in this picture he's bleeding. Jon Moxley likes to bleed. Whatever. Shut up. I also know that, again, I've had to revisit some things because my brain told me all year long, all the way up until a couple days ago maybe, that the Jon Moxley Adam Copeland feud was good. It was not. It was really bad. Adam Copeland was doing that thing that Chris Jericho used to do, where he just kind of did whatever he wanted because he was an old wrestler that was still wrestling. It's hard to explain. Adam Copeland is fine. He's a good wrestler. There's nothing wrong with it. But people like to call what Chris Jericho did the Jericho Vortex. People get sucked in to a Chris Jericho program and then would never recover or would be stuck there for too long. And that's kind of how the Jon Moxley, Adam Copeland stuff felt. I liked it because I'm a fan of both these guys. I want to be a little biased. This is also the feud where Jon Moxley got spikes stuck in his back. If you know, you know. If you don't know, do not worry about it. Don't look it up. You will throw up. I just saw the thumbnail for it when I was looking this up, and I was like, oh, that's disgusting. I remember that. So, excuse me. But otherwise, it was a really good year for Jon Moxley. He is one of the guys that I think is headed towards a really good 2026 because I think we're going to turn him babyface. I think him and maybe Marina Shafir, who's, I don't know why I pointed there, she's there. I think she'll go with him, and I think they'll be a baby faces. I don't know, maybe him and Darby will team up to take on the new Death Riders. I don't know what happens with the Death Riders. I don't know if they take out John and make like Claudio the leader, or if they get a new leader in. That'll be an interesting storyline. But I think Jon Moxley had an incredible year. I think that him losing so much was good for him, the Continental Classic. This is from when he lost to Claudio. So there's more proof for you that it might be Claudio taking over the group. But I'm looking forward to what he does in 2026. I'm always looking forward to what Jon Moxley does. He had a great year, which is why he's in at number 10. At number 9 is somebody that surprised me. But every time I watched him, I was completely enamored. And every single time I just, especially when he started a tag team that we'll talk about later, but I'm going to get to it. It's Bandito. So that's right. Bandito ended up on my list this year because he has been so entertaining. I didn't know a whole lot about him. I did know him. I did watch some Bandito matches back in whenever I watched them. But throughout the year, he's obviously been so much more in everybody's face. He's been so much more active on the main roster of AEW, Dynamite and Collision. Whoop, there goes my baby. But overall, he has just been incredible. He's had all these awesome singles matches on TV for Ring of Honor. He was Ring of Honor World Champion. I don't remember. I think it was this year that he took the Ring of Honor title from Chris Jericho. Either way, he is the Ring of Honor. He was the Ring of Honor champion. Him and I almost said Brodito. That was the team name. Him and Brody Lee, Brody King. I cannot believe I just made that mistake. Brody King had an incredible run as a team. I think they're still a team, and I don't think you should bring them up anytime soon. It was one of those things where you just put two people together and it absolutely works. It happens sometimes, and it happened with Brodito for sure. Bandito is definitely going to keep having good, years, good weeks, good months, good whatever, good matches. I hope that Tony Khan and friends push him in 2026. I'm going to say 5. I'm all over the place. My daughter is misbehaving, so my mind is kind of in two places, so I'm trying really hard here to focus. Point is, Bandito gets in here at number 9 because I think he is incredible. He's improving all the time, which is a dumb thing to say because he's been around forever. But I think 2026, they should really give him a big push on Dynamite or whatever. Maybe even put him in a feud for a major title. Now, some of you may be wondering at this point, why haven't I talked about any women's wrestlers? Well, that's because up until this point, I didn't think any of them needed to be on here because all the ones I put on here deserve to be in the top 10. The only thing is, I did make a bit of a mistake, and I'm going to explain that mistake during number 8, who is, and who will always be in my top 10, Rhea Bloody Ripley. Rhea Ripley coming in my list at number 8. The first women's wrestler, female wrestler, however you want to word it, on my list is at number 8. I don't even know what you want me to say. Rhea Ripley, every year, has one of the best years she's ever had. She's always in the best matches. She's always in the best angles. She's always in the best moments. There was some weird stuff in the late of the year, less maybe in the fall, where she was in a lot of backstage segments and wasn't on, she was on TV, but she wasn't in the ring. She wasn't wrestling or anything. And then was that really weird week. And I don't mean to bring this up. This is going to sound like a really weird thing for me to bring up, but it's been stuck in my brain ever since, and not for the reasons you're going to think, but it's because it was really weird. One week she was in the back and even ran out to help Io Sky, I think, and she was kind of just in a bra. It was strange. It was like she was getting dressed, and she got interrupted in the back when she was talking to Io Sky, and then it's like she forgot to finish getting dressed. It was really strange, and it was just like, why does she look like that? It was probably just how the outfit looked for that show, but it just threw me off. This is from when Crown Jewel in Australia, which was great. She had a weird year, but she had a great year. She had that match at WrestleMania, which again, we will talk about next week. But She's fantastic. Now, the mistake I made, I can't believe I did this, is that when I mentioned honorable mentions earlier, I forgot to talk about Becky Lynch. How dare I? I mean, everybody's talking about her. Even Sports Illustrated is talking about her. So Rhea Ripley is on my list at number 8. This is my second little honorable mention, Becky Lynch. I don't know how she didn't end up on my list. I think I simply made a mistake because I don't want to say I rushed my list, but when I made it, I only looked over it once or twice, and then I moved on with my life because I have kind of a busy life right now. So I screwed up. I forgot to put Becky Lynch on my list, and I can't figure out where to put her because the people that are still to come on this list, I think, belong where they are, so they need to stay there. So my honorable mention to Becky Lynch, who, of course, had just a brilliant fucking year. She should have been in my top 10. I don't know who she should have replaced. I guess she could tie at number 8 with Rhea Ripley. We could do that. It's cheating, but fuck it. It's my show. It's my channel. I'll do whatever I want. So, yeah, Becky and Rhea are together at number 8. Again, I don't know who I'm apologizing to, but I am sorry for somehow forgetting Becky Lynch. One of my all-time favorite wrestlers, period. Men, women, otherwise. Somehow not putting her in my top 20. I think, again, I just got too busy after I made the list the first time. My plan was to make the list and then revise it and hopefully have a perfect list by the time I was done.
Check it twice.
So, yeah, check it twice. It is Christmas. So, Becky Lynch and Rhea Ripley, both in there at number 8. They both had incredible years. Becky, I think the best part of this year was all the stuff she did for other people, putting, when AJ Lee came back, helping her get back over. And then this is from the Maxine Dupree thing just recently. So, Maxine Dupree is now, not only is she over as the Intercontinental Champion, but she's beaten Becky Lynch 3 times, and it's just great. So Becky Lynch and Rhea Ripley, 2 of my all-time favorites that will always be at the top of the list, in the top 10 anyway, at number 8. As we move on, speaking of Becky Lynch and AJ Lee, now we get to talk about CM Punk. Of course, I had to choose a moment where CM Punk is holding a microphone. But CM Punk in the list at number 7. Talk about a guy that divides opinion like crazy. I just think this is one of his best years, especially since his return. Maybe ever. There are people that are arguing that this is one of CM Punk's best runs, period. Just because his old stuff is old stuff. Back in the day, he was obviously great, but WWE always kind of pushed him down, even when he was champion, even when he was in big angles, big stories, whatever, big matches. They always kind of pushed him down. And then we know what happened in AEW. So we're not going to talk about it here. But since he's returned to WWE, it seems like every year he somehow continues to remind us how good he is, on the microphone especially, but also in the ring. And I think 2025 is one of Punk's best years ever. He's had such good matches. The stuff with Roman Reigns and Seth Rollins. The whole story with Seth Rollins has been great. Every time they're on screen together, I love it. The stuff with the Vision currently, him winning the World Championship twice, because Seth took it at Mr. Money in the Bank, and also he won it when Seth had to relinquish it, he won it with Jey Uso in that match, which Seth Rollins is also not on this list, but again, he's been in and out, kind of like Roman Reigns was, and of course, he's super duper injured again. So I didn't make an honorable mention to Seth Rollins because I think that's one of those understood things. I don't have to mention Seth Rollins. You know how good Seth Rollins is. But CM Punk, definitely in my top 10. He's had an incredible year. I think in 2026, we're going to get something really big. Again, I don't want to talk about it here, but we'll see. CM Punk, number, 7? I lost track of it. Number 6, I keep talking about dividing opinion. And this whole list is going to divide opinion. You're going to think I'm wrong about this and wrong about that. I mean, CM Punk is on my screen right now. And do you know who I have above CM Punk? This won't be controversial at all. Mercedes Moné. That's right, at number 6 is Mercedes Moné, Ultimo Moné, the CEO, whatever you want to call her. I'm not going to call her the things a bunch of weirdos who live in their mom's basement on the internet call her. But she is easily one of the best wrestlers of the year. She has done incredible work. I don't really want to get into this too much, but I don't get the hate she gets online because people are like, oh, she wins a bunch of belts that don't matter. Why do you care? Clearly you don't care about these independent promotions. At least Mercedes, one of the biggest stars in the entire world of professional wrestling, is going to the independent promotions and winning their belts and then losing them. as of this recording, she has lost the Ring of Honor Women's TV title and the British, some other British title. I just watched it, but she's losing belts now. And I think that this is going to be a big angle for all of wrestling. She's going to lose belt after belt after belt after belt before she finally loses all of them. And I hope, what I would do is I'd have her lose all of them but the TBS title and do a TBS, yes, versus Women's World title match, depending on who the champion is. I don't actually care. And go from there. She'll eventually be the Women's World Champion. I don't know if I'd have her hold both the women's title belts, but I would at least put her in that kind of feud. She's just been awesome. I don't know how people can look at her and watch her in matches and say the things they do on the internet. I have a good friend who is one of these people that's just like, well, I don't think she's very good at all, blah, blah, blah. And I asked him, I was like, why? What is so wrong with Mercedes? And it turned out, I don't mean to laugh, but it's so stupid, that he's still mad that she walked out of WWE a few years ago, even though that was the best decision her and Naomi ever made. Whatever, drop it, throw it over there, and leave it over there. Mercedes Moné had an incredible 2025. She's only going to keep going up, and the hatred she gets online is going to make it easier for her to go up. So I see a very big 2026. I see her being in this list again next year. Mercedes Moné, number 6. And kicking off the top 5 is another women's wrestler. And this woman, what are you going to say? She's always good. She has, I'm sitting here talking about her before we even get to the entry. But number 5 is Timeless Toni Storm. But yes, what else do I need to say about Timeless Toni Storm? She has had one of the best gimmick changes of all time. The Timeless gimmick is absolutely incredible. Her mannerisms, her innuendos. Sometimes she doesn't even say innuendos. Sometimes she just makes straight up sex comments on live television. I was watching a video the other day, I think it was What Culture's Wrestling Awards, and they kept saying innuendos that they realized that Toni Storm would say on TV. She calls herself a slut a lot. She makes tons of references to gay sex, because I'm pretty sure she's at least bi. And she's hilarious. She is incredible in the ring. I don't think she could have a bad match with anybody. She could wrestle me, and we'd have an incredible match, although she'd probably honestly kick my ass if we're being completely honest. But it's just, she's had another incredible year. I don't see her ever having a bad year. And on top of all of that, right, I haven't even talked about this yet, that match with Mariah May, the Hollywood ending, that was this year. That was at Revolution. Mariah May is now Blake Monroe in NXT, and Toni has since lost the Women's World title to Chris Statlander. All of that happened in 2025. The feud, of course, kicked off in late 2024, but the big blow-off match that some people consider the match of the year, do I? Find out next week. That happened this year. The same year that Toni Storm is now currently not the Women's World Champion and not even one half of the Women's World Tag Team Champions, because she's going through this, like, the same metamorphosis that, like, Jon Moxley and Mercedes Moné are going through, where she was way up here, and while she's still at the top of the card, she's no longer a champion. So Toni Storm will always be in my top 5, unless somebody else somehow nudges her out of number 5 spot, but I don't see it happening. And who do you ask is at number 4? I don't think this one's going to be controversial. I think this one's hard to argue as far as being in the top 5. I'll be honest, my top 5, including Toni Storm, you can put them wherever you want, but these are my 5 favorites in this order. I put them in. And number 5 is Dirty Dominic Mysterio. There he is. Good look at him before I get in his face. Dominic Mysterio, he has had such a good damn year, and you could go to any point in 2025 and just see him having a good year. That really, you could kind of ignore if you wanted to. I don't want to be horrible, but really it started at WrestleMania, right? With the 4-way for the Intercontinental Championship, where I swore up and down, left and right that Penta was going to be in it, which, shout outs to Penta. He ended up not being on my list, even though Phoenix did. I think his recent injury kind of bummed me out. I didn't want to deal with trying to remember. He's had a weird year, Penta. He's always good in the ring, but he's had a weird year storyline-wise. But Dominic Mysterio, he won the Intercontinental title. He held it for a super long time, had all these incredible matches in AAA. I mean, seriously, go out of your way to find every match that Dominic Mysterio had at a AAA show. They're all incredible. I think we're going back to his feud with Rey Mysterio, which some people usually get mad when you go back to a feud too many times. I don't think I'll ever get tired of Rey and Dominic fighting. It's so cool to watch. Then he did the John Cena thing. John Cena was able to win the Intercontinental title from him for the first time ever. John's ever won that belt. And then John put Dom over in the whole Judgment Day, which, again, absolutely hilarious at the Survivor Series. And he's still, again, recently he had a tag team match where he teamed with some Americano. There's so many Americanos now. To take on Rey Fenix and Rey Mysterio, which I talked about earlier in this video. And it is so damn good. And Dom continues, to be just incredible in the ring. All he does is improve. And even if he isn't actively improving in front of your eyes, everything he's doing is so good. It's so crisp. It's so perfect. I could go on and on forever. I'm not in love with the man, even though it kind of seems like I have his hair. I guess I could have his mustache too. But seriously, he's one of those heels that he acts like a heel and he does heel things, but everyone cheers him like he's a babyface. So when he leaves the Judgment Day eventually, which I do think is going to happen, I think him and Liv Morgan are going to leave the Judgment Day and be straight up babyfaces. It's going to be thunderous when he finally does that, and I can't wait. He's going to have a huge 2026, and he's definitely a future world champion. Excuse me. Up next, at number 3, I've got one question for you. Whose house? Because number 3 is Swerve Strickland. He always looks so angry, I swear to God. But yeah, Swerve Strickland, much like last year, had an insane year. It's all been so good. It's all been so perfect. Every single thing he does looks... It's like Darby Allin. I don't know if Swerve Strickland knows that pro wrestling is supposed to be worked. Like, you're not actually supposed to kill somebody. But Swerve doesn't care. Just watch his matches with Hangman. Actually, I changed my mind. Don't. But it's just been so good. Everything he did with Will Ospreay. I think they had some matches. They did. They had some singles matches. All the tag stuff they did. All the stuff with Hangman, again, like last year they wanted to kill each other. Maybe that was even earlier this year. But now, the latter half of the year, him and Hangman have gained respect for one another. They've teamed together to take down the Ops. It's been just great. It has been perfect. I don't think Swerve Strickland can do anything bad. And yes, I know he was injured too, but he was injured for a lot less. This is from his return at Full Gear, and I promise you, I cannot convey to you just how much of my mind I lost. He is so good that I think he could be the wrestler of the year on one of these lists. I just don't think it was this year, and maybe his injury has something to do with that, because when you're gone, how can you have incredible matches? Yeah, I agree. But I just can't wait to see what his 2026 looks like. He is, as of me recording, he is in the world title match at World's End, which... Oh. Okay. He's fine. Babies do that. I wish I could have paused it, but I had to jump into it real quick. But anyway, I wish I had time to do a World's End picks and predictions, because it's going to be an incredible fucking show. Again, my language, pardon me. But he's still a main eventer. He's still in the world title picture, so good for him. Something he might not be too happy about is that at number 2, I kind of put Hangman Adam Page. Oh, as you can see Hangman behind me. This is his entrance from All In Texas, which I can't wait to talk about more. But yes, number 2, Hangman Adam Page. Again, everything he did throughout the year. He wrestled Will Ospreay in an incredible match. The back and forth with the... Sorry, I had to be a parent again. Anyway, everything he did with the Death Riders, obviously All In Texas. Everything he's done since then. The stuff with Samoa Joe, who, another person that isn't on my list, but he's had a weird year until he became world champion. Some people didn't like that. Again, different video for a different day. He's going to be in that match as well. It's him, MJF, Samoa Joe, and Swerve. MJF as well wasn't on this list. My list is weird. But anyway, Hangman had an awesome year. The whole lead up, all year felt like a lead up to him being world champion. Then the sudden loss to Samoa Joe, the stuff with Swerve. It's just perfect. Hangman deserves to be at number 2 because he never has a bad match. He never has a bad moment. Never has a bad angle. Even when he's involved in weird storylines, he makes them better. He props them up. Hangman Adam Page, in my opinion, is still the main character of AEW. He's still the number 1 guy that as soon as fans see him, as soon as fans hear his music, they lose their damn minds. I'm not ashamed to say he almost feels like the Stone Cold Steve Austin of AEW sometimes, because there could be 50 people in the ring, and they could all be baby faces, but as soon as that music hits, the old school Hangman music, which he got back, thank God. I don't know why wrestlers change music so much, but they need to quit. But when his music hits, everyone loses their damn minds, me included. Hangman is one of my favorite wrestlers. He's always going to be up here. I said that a lot for these lists, for this list, but it's true. He's always going to be near the top. I think in 2026, him and Swerve are probably going to either win tag belts together or they're going to revisit their feud and have some absolutely disgusting match that's going to make me throw up in my mouth at least twice. So, good stuff on Hangman. I cannot wait to see what he does next year. Here we go. The moment you've all been waiting for. And by all, I mean there's like 3 of you that watch these videos. But still, the moment you've all been waiting for. I've told you 19 wrestlers in my list. I've had to do some honorable mentions and throw some shit at the wall. But who's my number 1 wrestler of the year? If you don't know who this is, you haven't been watching my content. And I'm going to do it, even though my child is in my lap and I'm going to look stupid. It's Iyo Sky, duh. Okay, sure, I shouldn't have yelled like I did. But seriously, you know what my thumbnail was to the Survivor Series. Look at this image. Her on top of the War Games cage. What gets better than that? Iyo Sky is easily the wrestler of the year for me. Every single match she had this year was a minimum of 3.5 stars. Maybe 4 stars every single one of them. The triple threat match at WrestleMania blew me away to the point where I think I've gone and revisited 16,212 times, which doesn't even make any sense. How can you watch a match that many times in 1 year? I'm exaggerating. Point is, from that match to the Rhea Ripley match at Evolution that, yes, Naomi interrupts, which that's someone else who's going to have an incredible 2026 if she comes back in 2026. I don't know when she's due. None of my business. The point is, when Naomi comes back, her whole career trajectory is going to go straight up, and I can't wait for it. She'll be in a lot of lists. But Iyo Sky, the feud with Asuka and Kairi Sane, every time her and Rhea Ripley are in the ring together, every time she has a match with anybody. She's one of those people that, they say, they get a match with a broom. Iyo Sky. Iyo Sky could wrestle a broom, and that match would be on Match of the Year candidates all year long and probably end up as some people Matches of the Year. I've got a Christmas tree right there. Iyo Sky could wrestle that Christmas tree and it'd be incredible. And I say this all the time because I only have a teensy bit of experience. I could wrestle Iyo Sky and somehow, some way, that match would be 3.5 to 4 stars. Dave Meltzer would lose his damn mind. But without a shadow of a doubt, I could go on forever about Iyo Sky, and you know I can. Every time I talk about her on this channel, it's like, I don't even know. I don't even have words for it. I just lost my English completely, which happens all the time anyway. But Iyo Sky was my wrestler of the year. And while I did say most of this is everyone's pretty close to each other, as far as I'm concerned, as far as number 1 goes, she blows it out of the water for me. One more honorable mention that I was thinking about while doing this is Sol Ruca. I do think she had a really good year. Again, when you look at all the people on my list, you can't really put her in there over any of these people, but I do believe she will be on my top 20 next year if I do a top 20 again. Thank you everybody so much for watching and sitting through this video. Almost an hour of me just talking about wrestlers. My top 20 wrestlers of the year. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. And I'm going to double back on the share. Please start sharing if you can. If you would like to share my videos, I would appreciate it. We're going to really aim to have a bigger year in 2026. Who are your favorite wrestlers of the year? Go ahead and put it in the comment section below. Do you agree with Iyo Sky? Do you have somebody else in mind? Did I leave somebody out that I really shouldn't have left out? You can let me know. And again, next week, I'm going to be recording in this weekend. But next week, we will do my top 15 matches and my top 10 shows. Don't forget the 2-year anniversary is coming up as well. And, of course, the return of MAW. I hope you all have a very, very Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays, Happy New Year, all that crap. And until next time, this is JT Channel. I am JT. I will see you in the next one. Do the Iyo Sky thing one more time.